Welcome. We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn continuing professional education credit for attending this session. There are no polling questions or attendance checks. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz using the Earmark app. Visit earmark.app in your web browser. You can also download the mobile app by scanning the QR code on the screen. Log in, or if you're new, create your free account. Be sure to use a valid email address because that's where we'll send your course completion certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. It takes us a few days to create the course on the app, so if you are attending this session live, please wait a few days. We'll email you a link to the course when it is ready. If you have questions or need help, email us at support@earmarkcpe.com. And now, on to the event. Buckle up, accountants. It's time for another Earmark Expo, where we're taking the latest accounting tech for a test drive. I'm Blake Oliver, and I'm here with my co-host, David Leary. How you doing, David?
Good, good.
Here's how this is going to work. We're going to floor it with a live demo of a game-changing app. David and I are going to be in the driver's seat, putting this app through its paces and asking the tough questions every accountant wants to know the answers to. And you are along for the ride. We want you, our live audience, to help us navigate. Ask questions in the chat. We will highlight them for Stephen to answer. This is your chance to see cutting-edge accounting tech in action, get your questions answered in real time, and gain insights that could transform your practice. So take a seat and let's roll with today's Earmark Expo.
Yeah. So, Blake, coming from my background in QuickBooks and the apps, I'm deeply familiar with CAS practices, right? And how that operates at an accounting firm, but not the tax side. But now that I'm on my entrepreneurial journey, I get to be a client of accounting firms and experience the tools that they force is not the right word, that they use to interact with clients, right? And so SafeSend is something I've experienced as a client, but I feel like I'm only seeing some parts of it. I don't feel like the firm has rolled out all the possible features of SafeSend for me to experience. So I'm excited to see today all the features that SafeSend can do, and hopefully I get to learn a little bit about what it's like for a tax practice to operate. Now, did you have tax when you had your own firm? Did you offer tax services?
So when I started my firm, we just did client accounting services. We did merge with a CPA firm that did tax, but I was not on the tax side. I was managing the CAS practice. So I'm also eager to see this in action. I myself have been frustrated at times providing information documents to my tax preparer. So I am always eager to see new solutions. So eager to talk to you today, Stephen Lyon from SafeSend. Welcome.
Thank you, Blake, David, for having me. Really excited to show everybody what SafeSend can do.
So let's start with the problem that you're solving. What is SafeSend? What are you trying to fix for accountants?
That's a very broad question, but what we're really trying to fix is the disparate solutions that we have for delivering items to clients and gathering items from clients. We want to provide a single solution that gives them the ability to upload, download, interact with all in one location. They don't have to go through many different channels, whether that be email, portal, paper, phone calls. We want to kind of bring that into one channel and make everyone's life easier.
All right. Well, how does that work? How do you do it?
Well, first we focus on client interactions and the client experience, right? We want to make sure that we're creating a simplified client experience that they can actually understand. Making access easy, no passwords that they use once a year and forget. Making
I like
sure
that. I like that because I can never remember the portal password.
This is the biggest issue with portals, right? Is that one-time password, and then we end up calling the firm and saying, "Hey, can you reset this?" And the firm says, "Hey, you see that little forgot password link? You click that and follow the steps." So really focused on a really good client experience, but also we want to save time for firms, right? So we want to make sure that we have AI that's pointed at solving particular tasks. We want to make sure we have automation in there that's taking away from some of the manual work that's done either in paper or electronically, and making sure that everybody gets a benefit from the software.
All right. So let's take a look. I'm eager to see it.
Awesome. Let's do it. Okay, so first, let me just kind of level set what we're going to be showing and what SafeSend One is kind of all about. We first developed SafeSend One with one big feature, and that was tax return automation in the assembly and delivery area. So what firms do and still do today is they take tax returns from their tax software, give them to us. We do an automated recognition and assembly where we recognize all the important info on that return, whether that be vouchers that they need to pay, the e-file forms for every state, any invoices or billing statements that the firm has that they want to get paid, all of those things. And we automatically break it out. It takes us about 3 to 4 seconds, pretty quick, to kind of level set that against a paper process. If anyone out there is still doing paper today, that process usually takes about 10 to 15 minutes to create a nice paper binder for a client. We do the same thing in just a couple seconds. So then we can...
So to make sure I understand, the preparation of the return is a whole different process than the packaging of it up when it's done.
Yes. So it's actually more to it than just what we're talking about, right? Of packaging. It's also getting it there. It's getting it signed, getting everything back. And so that's really where we started our journey at SafeSend, and kind of where I would say the bread and butter is in that tax return delivery. But we want to solve more than just that, like we've said, right? So SafeSend One is a solution that goes across the entire tax process, from gathering information, sending an organizer, getting source documents, engagement letters e-signed, all the way through the preparation and then ultimately in the delivery of those items, whether it be a tax return, organizer, an extension. We provide really good features for the clients, similar look and feel throughout the process, automated reminders for any vouchers that they pay throughout the year. That way the firm doesn't have to keep reminding them. We'll do it for them. They can make those tax payments online. And then again, no password. So it's very simple access based off authentication methods versus creating that password. And they have access to everything for up to 7 years. So everything you see here on the screen is what we have a hand in. The entire tax process, we're bringing automation to it. So when we think about this process, we start typically with gather in the client engagement process, right? So sending an engagement letter, an organizer, gathering source documents. So that's what we'll start the demo with today. Is I'll actually just show what our gather with AI can do on the firm side, and then we'll jump into the client side. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So going over here into the SafeSend suite, timed me out. Apologize.
Well, that's good security there.
Quick here. So when we log into the account here, we're actually going to see the dashboard of the suite. It's going to show all the different features that we have: returns, standalone e-signatures, extensions, organizers, file exchange, etc. So when we talk about gather, we're going to go right here into the gather feature. Okay. Now, a lot of firms are used to sending just their organizer. Now, the reason that organizers can be a little bit daunting is they're large. They have a lot of information, and clients may not have all the information that we're asking for right on them, right? So it can basically end up just sitting on a client's counter on their desk, and they won't fill it out. So a lot of firms are moving away from the traditional organizer and moving more towards, hey, let me ask you questions that give me specific answers and then give me the source documents I want. So that's kind of the approach that we took with our new gather. So if I hit new gather here, I'm asked to create a new gather request, and I have 4 different potential tasks that we're going to have the client do. And that is to sign a document, which is an engagement letter, ask custom questions, send a fillable organizer, and request documents. Now we can create templates that have a mix of these four. You can choose all four. You can choose one of the sections. It really gives them the ability to modulate what they're doing. Now, instead of sending an organizer just to a 1040 client, we can actually open this up now in Gather to business clients, trust clients, anybody, because we don't have to send a fillable organizer. We can just send those other items. So for this one, I will actually choose to use all four just so we see what we can do. And it will ask us to upload an organizer. Whoops. And I have one here that we can do.
So my existing PDF organizer, you can utilize that.
Correct. So we would just drag and drop that existing PDF organizer into here, and we'll convert it to fillable. But we're also going to do one other thing, and that has to do with AI, which I'll show in just a second. So when I hit submit, it's just going to take me a couple seconds here for us to recognize that. And we see that that gather request is ready. And as a firm, we'll process it. Now we're going to go through these steps to process it and get it out the door. But it's important to note that while I'm talking about every single feature and what we do and the benefit that it provides, this will only take a firm admin or whoever is processing just a couple minutes to get this out the door. So while we spend a little bit more time, really you could expect 3 to 4 minutes of your time, maybe max, processing this.
Stephen, could you zoom in a little bit?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll add a client email if we don't already have it in. And this is our only real big requirement for the client side. We have a client search that we have in our system as well that we can pull from. If we wanted to select an office location or an ERO, we absolutely can. And we'll head next to the next section, which is the organizer. Now, what we're going to do is two things with the previous year organizer. Number one is we're going to convert it to fillable. So what we actually do is take this PDF organizer, make it fillable so that the clients can actually fill it out on screen. They don't have to print it. They don't have to write on it or anything. Now, the second thing that we're doing is we're recognizing all of this previous year information that the client had on this organizer, Disney World W2 Real World Solutions. And I'm actually going to jump ahead here to to document requests. So our AI model is actually looking at this organizer, reading this previous year information, and we're actually automatically generating a document request list based off that previous year information. This way the firm doesn't have to. We don't have to go, okay, this person had Disney World, Real World, and ABC. We actually recognize that from the organizer and then created it for them. Now we can tinker, we can add more, we can remove things that may not exist anymore if we know that. But that is the two things that we are doing with that previous year organizer, converting it and recognizing those previous year items.
And essentially creating a custom organizer for each client.
Yep, exactly. A custom request list that tells them exactly what they need to provide us based off of what they did last year. And we now don't have to go and look it up ourselves and manually create it, write everything down and go back and double check it. We've done it for them.
Just looking at this list here, there's dozens of items. I feel like this would take me an hour just to create this individually if I did it manually.
Yeah, this is definitely a big time saver. So that's great there. And if you don't want to use the automatic generation, you can always use a template that you've created if you would like to. But again, that's the second thing that we're doing there. Now, if we move past that organizer, when we come back to it, we can go ahead and hit next and we will see our engagement letter. So if the firm did want to include an engagement letter, we absolutely could. And we simply just drag and drop our signature and date blocks where we want that client to sign. Next is our custom questions. So again, a lot of firms are moving away from sending that organizer. A lot of papers, a lot of stuff to fill out, but they don't really need all of it. And really the truth is probably less than 30% actually complete it anyway. So we give the firms the ability to create templates. So they can actually choose question templates that they can create that ask exact questions they want to know the answer to. did our marital status change? Can your spouse be claimed as a dependent by another person, etc. They can ask any question they want, and these are dynamic. So if they answer yes to the marital status, the next question is, what is your spouse's name, and what is their maiden name, etc. And we can go down in a couple levels on here. We can also create different sections that are personal information, business information, stuff like that. We already talked about the document request list, so I'm going to just go next to the delivery. We have a bunch of delivery options, whether that be for messaging, reminders, and email notifications. So we just basically can choose who we want in the firm to be notified when a client completes an item. We have a really cool feature for the request list, where if the client hits a certain percentage of uploaded items completed, then we will notify the firm and say, hey, this client is 75% done uploading items. And that gives the firm the ability to go in, start downloading stuff, and doing work ahead of time while they wait for that remaining 25.
I really like that, because a lot of times you're just waiting on one document, but you could start the return even without it. And this way you can get ahead of the work.
Yep, exactly. And we can see exactly what they haven't given us, right? So then we can even message them if we don't get it after a couple of days and say, hey, is this something you're going to upload, anticipate uploading? And we kind of have a better dialogue versus just a single percentage point, right? All right. So lastly, is we're going to finish and deliver this. So we're going to hit finish, and we're going to verify that this is the taxpayer that they want it to go to. And we have one other option that I like to point out, and that is deliver without the fillable organizer. Again, for the third time, firms are getting away from the standard organizer. So we give them the ability to upload the previous year organizer to generate that document request list, but then they don't actually have to deliver the organizer. They can just check this box and send it, and the organizer will just be eliminated, but they will still have that AI document request list. So another cool feature there. And we'll hit send, and that will be delivered out to the client. So that is the firm side of it. A couple minutes of time, processing it, adding an email, getting it out the door. And now we have something that we didn't spend 10 minutes printing, organizing, stuffing in an envelope, putting postage on, all of that.
Do you have a rough idea, Stephen, how many accounting firms are still mailing out paper organizers, if you had to guess?
Oof, if I had to guess, I would say probably 75+% still.
That's amazing.
And you'd be surprised. It's a lot of forward-thinking firms that are using really good technologies that still use kind of this antiquated process. I was with a firm in person doing demonstrations in California, and I was in a huge office building. They said, well, we fly a bunch of remote employees and seasonal employees out to the office, and we pay for them to be here for a week. We take over a conference room, and there's papers all over the desk, and they form a line and just go down. And I'm like, you have so much software at your fingertips, and this is how you're doing organizers still? That's insane. It's insane.
I agree.
Well, Blake, didn't you say your mom, had to get it and then fax it back or something? The organizer?
Yeah, they stopped sending the paper organizer to her. Instead, they just send a PDF. This is my mom and her firm, which is like a regional firm in Southern California. But they send a PDF and it's not fillable. So she ends up printing it and filling it out. Now, I think last year, they finally made it fillable. But it's still the PDF paper organizer, just in PDF form. It's not anywhere near as sophisticated as this with the individual questions and the request for documents. She has to be super careful to go through and collect all the documents she got last year.
Yeah, I think she'd like this process a little bit more.
I agree.
But let's jump into that client side. So I want everyone to see that was the firm side, the client side. So we'll jump into that here. And what we'll get is an email saying, please complete your 2022 gather request, and we'll hit let's get started. Now, with being in keeping with, hey, we don't want to create a one-time password that we're going to use once a year. We're going to just have them do an access code to access this. So we'll either text it or we can email it back to that email address, but we'll grab that code and enter it in.
And so if I put the phone number of my client, the mobile number, they can get the verification code by text.
Correct. And once we're in, we're going to see kind of a homepage. Hey, welcome, Walter. This is a message from us. On the left-hand side, you have 4 tasks, and that is to sign, answer, complete the organizer, and upload documents. We give them a little, hey, this may take 20 minutes or so, 5 minutes off each time we eliminate a step, but we're going to really just hit get started and go through the process. So at the top, we have a progress bar, and you're going to see this when we jump into like the returns here in a little bit. You'll see this is kind of a reoccurring theme. We start at the beginning. We have them complete steps until they're done. There's no jumping around. There's no getting confused or anything like that. So we're going to first sign our engagement letter. So we hit start. This is no different from pretty much any e-sign solution out there. Type or draw our name, apply that onto the page, hit next. Engagement letter is now signed. Next is the questionnaire. Now, I only have 5 questions on this to make it easy for us to demo, but firms can have 20, 30 different sections. So we have a percentage tracker up here. And as we go ahead and answer questions, that tracker will go and count. That way, the client has an idea of where they are in the process. And again, like I said, if you hit yes on some of these, we may have dynamic questions that ask another question that they need to answer. Hit next, and we will get to the organizer. So again, we've converted this to fillable. So as we go through the different organizer pages, we will actually see checkboxes and things for the different questions. So we can actually go through and mark yes, no, yes, no. And this is a little bit different than the PDF fillable. That can sometimes like not match up or anything. This is all custom done by us. So it's on the page where we want it. It's going to show up. And we give a little bit better things here too. If I go to the personal information and I choose the calendar, I can actually choose from a calendar date.
You get a drop down.
And I get a drop down. If it's a multi-option thing like here, the T and S, I can choose between the T and the S rather than having to type it myself. But any highlighted section, I can go ahead and type in. And as we do, we'll see the text color change and the background. So the client knows at any time, that's what I've filled. Black text is previous year information that was there already. Now I can overwrite it and everything. When the firm downloads this file, they're actually going to see the pink text. So that way they know the client filled that out. Black text is previous year info, and they know exactly what was altered by the client.
So you're giving the organizer with the pre-filled previous year's information. Now, Blake, when your mom got hers, was it just a blank doc and you have to start from scratch every time?
It is. It's like a start from scratch every year situation.
Ooh. Yeah. And so on some of these, if we show that previous year information, Disney World, Real World, ABC, even though we have a standard upload screen for that document request list, they can actually upload documents while they're filling it out. So if they look at this and go, oh, I have my Disney W-2, I can click and upload it right here from within filling out the organizer.
Beautiful.
I can also add notes to the preparer. And when they print this, these notes will be all summarized on a page, and the note itself will actually link to the page in which they added the note. So if they say, hey, I no longer have ABC Corp W-2, when they click that, it'll take them right to this dependents and wages page, and they can see, oh, okay, they don't have ABC Corp anymore. So that's really filling out the organizer. That's it. We just go page by page, fill it out, and when we're ready, we just mark it as finished. And we get to the fun stuff, which is the document request list. So on the firm side, we use the AI to generate the document request list from previous year info, but we also have AI on the client side. And what it's going to do is automatically recognize the files that the client is uploading to us and mark it off the list automatically for us. So we have 33 documents requested. We have none uploaded, 0% done. So what I can do is open up and drag and drop all my source docs. Oops. And I'll drag about 16 items in and drop them right here.
So I have a folder. I've just been putting tax docs in all year. I'm just going to go to that folder and drag all those here.
Correct. And as it uploads, the AI in the background is going to recognize what we've uploaded. You can see now it starts to tick up, and these items are now getting checked off. So we can just
and I don't have
watch
to
it happen.
I don't have to name all my documents perfect. I can just push them in here, and you're going to look at the documents themselves to figure out what document it is.
Correct. So if you upload a W-2, we're going to go into that W-2. The AI is going to look in where the company name is, recognize that it's Disney World, and they're going to drop it in there, and we're going to map it right to that. And so now we can see we have 12 documents of the 33 requested. We have 4 additional that weren't requested, 36% completed. And now for these, that are unrecognized, we still have them and the firm still has access to them, but they just weren't asked for. If they were, we can hit edit and we can actually map it to whichever request it is, if it is something that we didn't recognize, or we just leave it there and the firm can access it in the uncategorized or unrecognized files section when they go and download it. So everything will still be there. Doesn't matter if it was recognized or not, but we will recognize that automatically and check that off for the client. And that's it.
This excites me. I want to go and do my taxes as the client side, because I think previously my experience was it was almost like an email where I would attach the docs. So I'd be very careful to give them perfect names, give the emails a perfect subject line to be very clear of what thing I was sending over. But hopefully I get this to be my experience this year with my accounting firm. This is amazing.
I hope so too. And it makes upload a little bit better, right? When you go and upload into a lot of programs, I know I watched a video of your folks on doing it with TurboTax. It tells you, hey, I need this item. And then you click upload for that one item. And then you have to go find it and drag and drop it in and drop it to that one line item. And there's not really anything where you can do a mass upload and then it tells you or marks those things off for you and recognizes what you have. So instead of uploading items one by one, we're just dragging a whole mess of documents over and we're recognizing them pretty easily. So that's it for the client. If I hit finish, I will be taken back to that home page, and then I can come back in at any point, download a copy of my engagement letter, the organizer, or view my uploaded documents and upload more if I need to. So they can come back in here at any time. So lastly, on the firm side, we'll go to the delivered return or delivered gather report. And just here, I just want to give a quick overview. I won't get into details, but this report will show us which one has been sent out. Biggest thing here is what we'll see is the statuses, whether they're completed or still pending. And then we have a very quick view of the document requests. So we see 39% of these are done, or 39% of this request is done, 13 out of 33 docs. Gives us a very quick look at what that client has done and what they are doing and kind of where they stand, if I wanted to follow up with them or just take a look. So that's the gathering process. That's it for the firm and the client. And that's what our Gather AI tool does. Very excited for firms to get their hands on and start using it this coming season. It's going to be really, really fun to see how folks use it. And really it's a new feature too, right? So we're excited to see what suggestions folks come up with now that they kind of see this. So in the journey now, we go to returns, right? So we've gathered everything, we've prepped the return. Now we want to send that return out the door. So we'll jump over to the returns feature. Now, what we're going to see here is very similar to the Gather. It's going to be a very similar dashboard. It's going to be similar processing, similar client experience. But overall, and that's on purpose, but it just accomplishes different tasks, right? So now we're talking about tax return delivery.
Can you zoom in again, Stephen? It's a little small.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. So we work with specific tax software. So Thomson, Reuters, UltraTax, GoSystem, Wolters Kluwer's CCH Axcess and their ProSystem FX, Intuit Lacerte are the tax softwares that we support. Today, I'm just going to upload a CCH return. They all work the same, but simply what you would do is just grab a return, drag and drop it. Now, many of those that I just listed off, we have direct integrations for, so you can actually either use the integration from the tax software, or in the CCH Axcess case, you can actually pull returns from Axcess into SafeSend, starting in SafeSend. So we do have integrations for those as well. But if you wanted to just upload a single return and submit it, you would do that here. And when I hit submit, this is where we start that recognition and assembly process. This is that process I talked about earlier on paper that takes like 10 to 15 minutes for a firm to put together. When I hit submit, we're going to go through status of uploaded. Within seconds, it's now ready. So now the firm can process it. Now, a lot of folks will have their seasonal employees or temp employees. They will come in and they'll upload for the processing admins or for the partners, and they'll just get returns ready. But when we want to process, very similar to the gather, about 3 to 4 minutes of our time to go through this return. So when we open this up, very similar kind of processing feel, but for a tax return, right, we want to highlight all those important action items. So transmittals, e-file forms, the vouchers, invoices, etc. So we recognize the refunds and payments due right off of the return, so the client knows exactly what they're getting back, what they owe. On the right-hand side, we have pulled the taxpayer information right off of the 1040. If there is a joint return, we will have a spouse section as well. Now, real big benefit here is that if we are sending a joint return, almost every solution out there, whether it be a standard e-sign like DocuSign or something, a delivery method that the tax softwares have, they will require two separate emails for each signer. Our system, you don't need to do that. If you do have a taxpayer and spouse, we can actually have you enter in the first signer and leave the other blank. And we'll actually put that responsibility of adding the email on that first signer. So Dan would actually enter his spouse's email for us, and that's how we would capture it. But as we go through here, we can recognize the transmittals that we pulled information off of. Those are either listed here or they're the filing instructions for the client to review. The tax return section will have everything that was not an action item, again, just for review on the client side. The e-file forms. Our system will automatically recognize the e-file forms for Fed and all included states. And we automatically place signature and date block. So there's no dragging and dropping. So you got to think, if you have someone like this who has business in 2 states, you're dragging and dropping 16 potential boxes. It takes time. Our system does not. We have folks that use this for athletes that play in almost every state. We automatically recognize it, just takes a couple seconds, and they don't have to do anything. If we wanted to add additional documents for e-signature, we could. Let's just say the client didn't sign their engagement letter, we could add it. And then the vouchers. We will automatically recognize the vouchers, their due date, and the amount due, and display it to the client. They'll be able to download a copy of it if they want, but we will also display it in a very cool pay screen, which we'll show in just a minute. Invoicing, if the firm wants to include an invoice, they can. We'll either recognize the invoice from the tax software that was included, or they can just hit replace and add their own. We can also link a payment provider to this invoice as well. So they can use their own preferred payment provider to gather electronic payment from their client. And then we can add attachments for anything else, and delivery options very similar to the gather, whether we want to do a message, reminders, notifications, and things like that.
Now, can I require my client to pay?
If you use our integration with Stripe, you can absolutely require them to pay, and they cannot go do anything without paying you first. Otherwise, if you're not using that integration, it's just kind of they can pay, and most do because we show it first, but it's not a requirement.
Not required. Yeah, I mean, that to me is just an automatic huge win for firms that are sending out these tax returns, getting them signed, filing them, and then waiting for clients to pay. Once the return has been filed, there's no incentive for the client to quickly pay anymore. And so many firms have accounts receivable that are months or years past due. So that's good to see.
Yeah,
and with Stripe, with Stripe, does it do the credit cards and ACH, or is it just credit cards? Like, how does that all work?
It is just credit card for now. Hope to do ACH in the future, but what we also are hoping to do is integrate with other solutions out there that are prevalently used, especially in our kind of industry, CPA charge, quick fee, those kinds of softwares.
Cool.
All right, we're going to hit finish, and we're going to deliver that return to the client, and that's out the door. Again, 3 to 4 minutes of time. Most of the time, we've done everything automatically for you, and we'll do the same thing where we're going to go to our email, and we will have a return ready for us here.
Oh, live demos. Email always goes slow.
There we go. So we'll click Let's Get Started. Again, very similar look and feel. We hit Get Started. Now for the return, just because of how much is in there and the numbers and everything like that, we're going to do a dual factor authentication. So the first thing we will have them do is the last 4 of their social. And then second to that is that access code. So again, text message or email. We'll grab that code from the email, enter it in, and we will get to the dashboard. Make sure we're zoomed in on this. So we have our breakdown of our return right out the gate. So the client typically wants to know, what am I getting back? What do I owe? That's the first thing they want. So that's what we give them. Hey, this is what you're getting back. This is what you owe. And if they owe any estimated payments, we'll display those as well. And then across the top, the progress bar, similar to that gather. And we have 3 steps: review, sign, make payments. Click get started. We see the message from the firm. Click next, and we have our invoice. So we have our invoice here. And if we want, we can hit pay now. And again, if it was Stripe, this next button could be blocked and they have to hit pay now. Or if we're using CPA charge or anyone like that, we just hit pay now and we will actually navigate them right to that person's payment page. Click next and we will review our documents. Big benefit here is that we do not actually have to download any files, open it up in our own PDF viewer or anything like that. We can actually see everything right on screen by scrolling, page navigation, and even bookmark structures here on the right-hand side. So we do our filing instructions, our return, we can see everything broken down, and we can just review it right here on screen. And this is really good on mobile as well. So they can actually look at this on an iPhone, on an iPad, and review, scroll through while they're on the go. If they want to forward copies of these documents to somebody, they can hit forward. And when they hit forward, they can choose which of the PDFs they want to share with this person. They don't have to share all, but they can choose which ones or choose all and enter an email address or multiple email addresses for the person that they want to get copies of those. That person will just get a secure link, do an access code to download a copy of those documents. They will not do the signing or the paying or anything like that. We'll hit next and we'll have them sign. So we always provide a few options for signing, but 99.9% of folks will choose e-sign. But manual sign is there just in case they do not want to e-sign. They want to print and sign it for any reason. We give them a very simple way to download the file and upload right back through this experience. Or we have delegate signing. Now, this is typically for your entities. If they were to choose delegate signing, this is the ability for like the CFO to say, hey, I'm handling the return and everything, but I want the CEO's signature on the e-file forms. So they can just enter the CEO's email, write them a message saying, hey, everything looks good, go ahead and sign, and hit send. And that CEO will just get the e-file form step. But we'll choose e-sign. And since we have a 1040 today, we do have to enter our date of birth for the knowledge-based authentication, or the KBA. And we will hit next and get asked those KBA questions. This is always a headache for folks, right? We get some folks that get really bad questions. What was the street address of a property you owned 50 years ago? No one remembers that. I believe a client sent me a screenshot once of, I won't say, but it was a standalone e-sign solution that's out there today that the question was, what was the license plate number of your Ford Pinto? Is what it said. And they were like, I forgot I even had that car. So we do a lot better process where we don't go back as far, not 60 years. We go back about 20 years and we use a lot more relevant information, creates better questions, and overall leads to about a 97% success rate through the KBA for us. So we'll answer 3 of 5 questions correctly. If we do answer 3 correctly, we're taken right to e-sign. And just like before, we click start, click our signature box and either type our name or we can draw it. And if we're on mobile, we can use our mouse, or our finger to place that signature as well. And we'll place it on all the included e-file forms. Those are all signed. Next to finish, and that's it. If it's a joint return, it will go to the spouse. They'll go through the same exact steps. But if it's done, it's signed by everyone who needs to sign, then it will get forwarded to the firm. In this case, Hatfield & Associates for my test account. Now, the last step for the client is to make payments. So if they do have payments due, we'll have current year payments due October 15th. Or if we have estimated payments, those will be displayed here. So we show each payment that's due and then a pay button. So we have the information of the date, the authority, the amount. And when we click pay, we'll get a pop-up and it'll allow us to either download the voucher. We can print it, pay with check or money order, or we can hit pay online. And if we do hit pay online, for any authority, SafeSend will automatically take that client to that authority's payment page. So when we get to the IRS website, they can choose how they want to pay the IRS. Or if we go back to, let's say, Illinois, and we pay now, we're taken to Illinois' payment site, so on and so forth for all of the included authorities. They can also mark things as paid. So if they wanted to add payment details here, this is record keeping only, but they can add the amount they paid, the date, and then either a check or confirmation number and mark that as paid. So when they come in here next time, it will be checked off and they don't have to worry about it. But we will automatically remind them throughout the year that these payments are coming up. So here we can see the setting for me is 10 days. So 10 days before all these payments throughout this year, we are going to remind this person, hey, in 10 days, you have federal, Arizona, Illinois payments due. Don't miss them. And when we hit done, we're taken back to that beginning page, the summary. We have our summary here, and then we have some options for being completed. We can go download copies of things, go back in, make more payments, etc. And this is all access for up to 7 years. I will say the only difference between this and a entity is that an entity will actually have one more step. And if it has K1s that need to be distributed, there will actually be an electronic K1 distribution step where they can go ahead and enter in the email address for each shareholder or partner of the business and click a button that says send, and it will send out their K1 electronically to them. They can do them one at a time or all of them at once, totally up to them. And that is the client experience of returns.
Wow, that is really nice. How do I get my CPA, my tax guy using this? That's my question. Actually, Stephen, unless there's something else you want to show us about the product, I'm really curious to know who is using SafeSend.
Yeah, no, I think that's it for the product. I guess one thing I will show is, again, the delivered returns for their delivered returns report for them here. Again, we have a status and we have something cool that's really called, I like to show real quick, that is called client tracking. So when you go to user tracking, you can actually see everything the client has done. So any firms that might resonate with this, if you tell a client like, hey, did you get this? And they say, no, I didn't even see it. Now you can look at this and go, yeah, you did. You opened it on this date at this time, and you have record of it happening.
Yes. Mine just says opened. That's all it says.
And yeah, you can see when they go in here and they e-signed if the voucher email was delivered, if they've accessed it, everything. So it's a really cool feature there. But yeah, other than that, again, there's more features through the suite. It has a lot of similar functionalities when it comes to extensions, secure file exchange, standalone e-sign on engagement letters and things like that that aren't part of that gather. So lots of cool things there. Now,
how is this priced, or how do I buy this if I'm sold on it?
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, I want to answer Blake's question on who's using it. And it's really pretty much anyone in the firm that wants to make their clients' lives a little bit easier. Now, I will say our primary user base is administrators. This is taking work off their plate, and it makes sense that they would use this in the day-to-day to process and get returns out the door, track e-signed, e-file forms, and getting those in and things like that. That's typically what they do already. So having this tool kind of in their arsenal makes their lives a lot better, frees up a lot of time to kind of focus on more value-added work, in my opinion, where they're not just spending, long hours in tax season doing these things, chasing, making calls and stuff like that. But we have plenty of partners that are in here that are processing their own returns because they find it's easy to just process their own returns and get it out the door and not even use the admin, which kind of helps with the staffing problem in general, right? It's always been something in this industry, and you can either do it with outsourcing, hiring more staff, which is hard, or leverage technology to make your existing staff be able to do a little bit more. And that's exactly what this does. So primarily admins, but we got partners and everybody in there doing stuff as well. Pricing, David, great question. So I don't have the actual numbers here, but I will say how we price. And essentially what we do is firms will pre-purchase a bundle of returns. And then from there, depending on which of our pricing tiers they want to go with, and the three are listed here on the screen, Essential, Preferred, Premium, at different price points, they will get additional features, right? So you can choose the Essential, and you can have returns, electronic signatures, extensions as main firm features. Or you go Preferred, and that gives you the organizers, and it gives you secure file exchange, And then if you go to the premium, that will get you everything along with the Gather AI. It'll also give you Take Time Calculate, which is a PDF preparation tool that goes into Acrobat. It's an Acrobat extension. So essentially, you buy a bundle of returns ahead of time, and at which tier you get it, that's the features you get.
And if you're a firm owner, I want you to listen to me very carefully here, and you don't get the premium with the next gen Gather AI, you hate your clients. You want your like as a client, I want to experience those features in that last column. And so when you go shopping, think about your clients, firm owners, when you go shopping for things.
Well said. Well, Stephen, this has been really fascinating. I guess there's only one more question I have about how the product works, which is once you gather the information from the client, how does it get into the tax software?
That's a good question. So when you get the information from the client, we have this action column here. We can hit download and we see the source documents, and then we can see the e-signed engagement letter and the organizer. We're just providing that info to you. Getting it into the tax software is going to be just like you do it today. You're going to upload it through any scanning tool that the tax software has. If you're using Scan and Populate or anything like that, or you're keying in those numbers, that's on the tax software side. So we don't have any integrations with them doing that. They have kind of their own tools for that information, like once the client fills it out. And it's just not a realm that we've gone into. We've really been focused on the firm plus client engagement versus, okay, now that you're past the client engagement, how do we do that? So basically, you would input the information the same way you do today. We're just helping you gather it in a more efficient manner.
So the most efficient way would be I download the PDF of the organizer from SafeSend, Gather, and then I upload that into my tax software. And I imagine that because the PDF is electronic, it's easy for the tax software to read the fields and put everything in the right places.
It should be.
Depends on how well that has been designed.
It depends on how well it's going to read it and how well it's designed. But so there's obviously going to be a review process like with anything. But yes, exactly. That would be the best idea, is to download the PDF, upload it through your scanning tool into your tax software.
As somebody who has spent the last 15, 20 years now in the client accounting services world, where we've figured out how to exchange data automatically through APIs and integrations, it's amazing to me that the major tax software companies don't have a way to like connect with you and to do this automatically. It's kind of shocking.
So I think some of them are headed that way, but
headed that way.
Headed that way.
Yeah.
So that would be my question, Stephen. Like, what's next? Like, what's next on the roadmap? What problem are you going to solve next at SafeSend?
Yeah. So in particular, what we're really focused on in like kind of like the shorter term is really enhancing what we have today, right? We just came out with Gather, so we want to make that even better. We want to hear feedback and implement changes that are going to help the firm overall. But let's just say very quickly, we're going to release something called One Hub, which is actually going to kind of bring everything together from our system. And the easiest way to explain this is, as I showed you in the demo today, I sent a Gather and I got an email for that Gather request. I went in and I did that Gather request and then I was done. But then I got a separate email that says, hey, here's your return. And I had to go into that email and do the return. Now, that's great that it has a similar look and feel, but we want it to be even easier for the client. So we're going to release something called One Hub, which is basically, for lack of a better term, a portal, I'll put it in quotes, where the client can go in and they will see everything sent to them throughout the suite. And if they have any pending tasks like a Gather request or a return or an engagement letter, it will all be listed there and say action needed. And they can go ahead and take action. And then they can actually, they can actually access previous year data for the past like few years from within SafeSend in that one location also. So if they're buying a house and they need the last 3 years of returns, they can go into that one section rather than finding the 3 emails for the 3 separate years. So short term, that's a big thing that we're coming out with at the end of October. And then before tax season, it's really just enhancing what we currently have. Long-term vision is making things easier for the firm and the clients in general. single pane of glass access to all of our solutions in conjunction with the DMS solutions they might be using in conjunction with the tax software, invoicing, billing, time and pay. We want to be able to provide a single location where firms can link us to those single pane of glass concepts and really make sure that we consolidate all these different logins and all these different places and all these different tabs that we have to have open. We just want to make people's lives easier, and that's what we're going to focus on.
Well, Stephen, thanks so much for showing us SafeSend. If our viewers would like to learn more, where should they go?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was great showing. SafeSend.com is the easiest place. SafeSend.com. You can go and check out the different solutions. We have product pages for those. You could go to YouTube.com and look at SafeSend, and we'll have plenty of videos there showing a lot of our different features, thought leadership stuff as well. But SafeSend.com, that's where you can sign up for a demo. That's where you can see some screenshots and get some information.
Thanks, everyone, for watching, and stay tuned for a quick message about how you can earn free continuing professional education for having watched this recording. We'll see you around on a future Earmark Expo. Bye, everyone. Today's event has ended. To earn CPE, go to earmark.app or scan the QR code on the screen. Then log in or create your free account. Search for the course by tapping on the magnifying glass icon on the home screen and then entering the name of this event. It takes a few days to make the course, so if you're attending this event live, keep an eye out for an email letting you know when the course is available. Pass the quiz to earn your CPE, then tap the button to email yourself a certificate. Stay tuned for more events from Earmark. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.